All right, and the new business number 1, please.
Dated June 13th, properly addressed. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm requesting this body consider the attached appeal of a FOIA response by Ms. Renita Benitez, respectfully submitted Jim Thomas, District Number 4, Midland County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, and I need a motion.
I move that we consider the attached appeal on the FOIA request.
And support?
Support.
Do we have public comment on this item?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Greetings, Joe Bonadies, 1191 East Phillips Court, Homer Township. A few quick points for the Midland County Clerk election of 2024. 1, my wife fully registered as a write-in candidate for this election, and if I go online, I see 670 write-in votes. Since I attended the closing of the early voting site, I'm fairly certain that this is an unadjudicated pile of stuff, and there is no way to know how many votes my wife received or where they came from, i.e. which precinct. 2, my township signed a contract with the county to perform early voting in the same manner they would, i.e. precinct level reporting. We spent $10,000 to cover 3 precincts. The data is not available at the precinct level. 3, while at the closing of the early voting site, I witnessed one of the machines spitting out a tape. One of the volunteers went over, looking at the tape and started commenting, "Oh, look, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck," etc. Lisa Bentley crossed the stage, hit a button to stop the machine, ripped the tape off the machine, crumpled it up while saying, "We don't need that." That tape was never seen again and was not at the Board of Canvassers and was presumably discarded. 4, the workers at the early voting close interacted primarily with only one blue election bag. They pulled out what were presumably daily write-in ballot envelopes, which were properly diverted by the machine. These ballots were separated between valid write-ins and Mickey Mouse, etc. After counting the valid write-ins, the ballots were bundled and placed in a single blue ballot bag. They were not recombined, but are segregated. In conclusion, the county clerk race got the most write-in votes for any race on the ballot. The other local races did not have write-ins, but county clerk did. There was no separation of the wheat from the chaff. 61 people from somewhere in the county, we don't know where, expressed their legal vote for an alternate candidate, but we would never know that from the published results. Thank you.
Thank you. More public comment?
Before I start, I'd like to give my backup. That's all right.
Thanks, Joe.
Good morning. My name is Jill Booth. I'm from Homer Township. I attended the November 5th, 2024 early voting center canvassing to witness the county official canvassing of that site. I'm a certified election inspector, having renewed my certification on July 16th, 2024. The mandatory county-provided training includes how to validate qualified write-in candidates by precinct, either using what they call the paper poll book declared write-in tally of vote sheet or appropriate totals tape with the images of the write-ins. It's included in my handout, the instructions in the training. So either of these methods could have given the precinct level reporting for write-ins. We arrived at the early voting canvass near 8 p.m. We were told by the county clerk, who was called in by the early voting clerk, Lisa Bentner Rich, that we had to sit down in the auditorium seats during the canvass. The early voting was set up on the back half of the stage. Soon after 8 p.m., the 2 inspectors began to process the ballots marked with write-ins. The processing of write-in results was very slow. It seemed that the inspectors were unaware they needed to be entered on a recommended tally form until Lisa instructed them to use this sheet. We couldn't see which sheet, obviously, but it started moving faster about an hour into the manual count. At the following county canvass, we found out write-in totals weren't tallied by precinct, and we're told by our county clerk this wasn't a state requirement. State election law that I read, 168.720J, sections 11 and 12 addresses combining all county precincts into one titled EV, but it requires a minimum of 250 represented precincts. It also states the EV results shall be added to each precinct. Chapters 4 and 13 in the State Election Officials Manual also affirm this practice. Why would our county teach the best methods during election inspector training and not perform it themselves? How could the electronic and hard copy poll books be reconciled, the counts certified and published without valid write-in results by precinct? If the early voting canvass was done according to the county training manual, there would be an accurate tally for each valid write-in candidate per precinct represented at the early voting center. To charge a candidate for this data, which should have been public in the first place, is wrong and unethical. The data should have been reconciled during county canvassing prior to certification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more public comment? Mr. Schulke?
Madam Chairman, can I make a motion? I know I suspect Renita is going to talk. I would like to, I know she's going to have a lot to present, and I think maybe it'd be helpful for us to hear some of those things. So I move that we give Mrs. Bonadies an additional 5 minutes, so a total of 8 minutes to present her FOIA appeals case.
Okay. Can I have a second for that motion?
Support.
All right. Is there commissioner discussion?
Yeah, I don't think we can give one person extra time. So all these other people have showed up today. We held them to their 3 minutes. There's absolutely nothing in the rules that would allow extra time. So we can't treat one person differently than everybody else, in my opinion,
Okay.
as the parliamentarian.
Viv, do you want to comment? I think I got that recommendation from Chairman Thomas, and so I don't know if he talked to you. There was a request of that, I think, beforehand. And do you want to make a comment about that?
I can make a comment. Your request is to suspend the rules. Your motion encompasses a suspension of the rules and allowing for an additional time. That was seconded, and now it's up for a vote. That's essentially, the Board of Commissioners makes this determination.
You can make a public comment if you'd like.
No.
Well, we'll finish this
Okay.
discussion and then we'll have,
Make that motion, I think it's a 2/3.
okay.
Yeah, no, that's,
So, any more discussion amongst the commissioners? Do we,
I'm going to do a
voice?
roll call.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Is there any precedent for doing this? Has there been other times where we've extended public comment?
You're going to have to ask a commissioner or direct it to Bridget or Bill.
In my experience, there has been no motion to suspend the rules to add additional time for public comment. My history. Well, my memory's not great.
I was just going to say, in the
Yes, it is.
30-plus
I
years
don't
I've
recall
been
a
here, I've
time
never
where
done
we've
it.
done this before. Not in my tenure do I remember us doing this before, so.
It's not meant to take away from Ms. Bonadi's presentation. It is meant to simply follow the rules that we've applied to everyone else today.
Okay. All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Smith. This is to allow Ms. Benides to have an additional 5 minutes to
Okay.
present her.
I want to make sure. No.
Commissioner Bone is gone. Commissioner Schulke.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas is gone. Commissioner Gambrell.
No?
And Commissioner Dorian.
As a one-time only, yes.
And Chairperson Snyder.
Yes.
All right, so she can get 8 minutes, if you would put that on your phone.
Please state your name and address.
Renita Bonadies, 1191 East Phillips Court in Homer Township. I submitted a FOIA request for the 61 ballots from the early voting center that I witnessed being counted and tallied. I was sent a response saying I could have them, but it would cost $611.86 to get those items. I was at the early voting. As was already stated, Joe and Jill were also present at that canvass at the early voting center. We witnessed the ballots from the early voting site from all 9 days of early voting, having been in one blue bag that they pulled out and separated. Those ballots were in one bag, which I stated in my appeal that I sent to the Board of Commissioners, Chair Jim Stamas, stating that they were there, they should be able to be taken back out, tallied by precinct, so that I could actually have my results at a precinct level for the county. You all received a PowerPoint presentation, which I'm not able to show here, so the public will not be able to see what I'm talking about. But in that, and I do video the Board of Canvasser meetings, and have been doing that for the last 2.5 years as part of an education of the public. In that Board of Canvasser meeting, when I asked why my precinct's results were not given, it was told that it was just a lump sum. It was early voting. As I showed in my documentation, I actually called other counties. I talked to their Board of Canvasser members, and they told me that their early voting centers were indeed separated out by precincts. You have that information. I gave you a document that showed my notes actually of those phone calls stating how they did it at their Board of Canvasser meetings so that they could report it at a precinct level. The document that I received from the early voting showed my 61 votes, and it shows them all as one lump sum. Even though the document itself indicates that there should be a separation by township, city, ward, or precinct, that was not done on this document. And when we got to Board of Canvasser, it was also not done there. I gave public comment there and asked why it was not. I was told that it didn't have to be. After the election, the second Board of Canvasser meeting, I was handed a document that showed Renita 157 votes. This is the only evidence I have of the total number of votes I received in that election. There was no other document that was produced for me that had those votes totaled out. And when you go to the precinct reporting on the county website and go into the state website, one of the comparatives I used was Saginaw, because I knew at their early voting site, they also had a presidential write-in candidate. Their report online will show you that that was properly adjudicated and that you can find the precinct where that one vote took place. When you go to our website report at the state level for the presidential candidates, there were actually 3 write-ins for the presidential candidate, but you would not know that looking at the report that the state produced. Instead, they had a statistical adjustment to say that they had to write off 14 votes because they couldn't allocate them to particular candidates on the precinct report. I also showed you where there were 2 school board candidates that were write-ins. Those individuals' names also do not appear in the final election results that are online. And these are all on the official MPS or Midland County results. The point of all of this is that I went through the proper channels. I registered. I was an official write-in candidate. People voted for me, and I was not able to find anything. In fact, I would like someone to show me anywhere that it shows that I was a write-in candidate, I was a valid write-in candidate, and that I received 157 votes online. It seems that if I went through that process, I should be able to see my name somewhere as having run in that election, but I can't. And then when I asked for verification of this information so I could have my own breakout by precinct, I was told it would cost $611. I do not believe that after following the proper channels to become a valid write-in candidate for people having cast votes for me, that all of that should be taken away. And then when I asked for the actual documents, which again, there's 61 ballots sitting in a bag, it should not take more than about 15 to 30 minutes to sort those out. But I'm told that no, that can't be done. And this amount of minimal time, I do not believe should be charged for as a valid write-in candidate and for a report that should be able to be found online at the state level, just like it is in other counties. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would like to
Thank you.
Thanks, Renita.
speak during public comment. please.
Absolutely. Please state your name and address.
Ann Maneri, Midland County Clerk. No, okay. Out of time? All
There we
right.
go. Yeah.
Ann Maneri, Midland County Clerk. While I can appreciate that Ms. Benides is upset by the cost of her request, you all should be under the understanding that there are 10,000 ballots that were cast during early voting. And even though she believes all ballots are contained in one particular area, I don't know that to be true until we break the seal. We have to break the seal with two people from our office because those ballots are still under security and will be until October of 2026. So as the chief election official here in Midland County, we are going to do our best to get her information in a timely manner. But we also have to prepare in case we have to spend more time going through all the ballots. So that part isn't exactly accurate, but that's okay. A couple other things that that she's been saying that, the Board of Canvassers don't look at write-in ballots. That's correct. Write-in ballots are processed at the precinct on election day. We handled early voting where all of our ballots were separated between county and city, and they were not separated by precinct. And I can tell you that we're not the only ones in the state that did it that way. We're not required to separate them by precinct. And it takes a lot more time to separate individual precinct information when you're not required to. So we decided here in Midland that we weren't going to do that. And as the chief election official here in Midland County, I get to make that decision. So again, I'm happy to give her information that she's looking for, but it is going to take time. And we do have to break the seal. We do have to maintain those records because they are under security still. And so even though she's upset by the cost, I only charged her for my wage, not the wage of two people that are required to do the job. So at the end of the day, she's actually not even being charged the $611. We just need her to pay a half of that as a deposit so we can complete the task and determine what the actual cost is going to be. I am, however, going to refigure the calculation based on the lowest paid employee capable of doing the job, which will be my chief deputy. And so she will have a new figure that she can pay half of to get the information she's looking for. So at the end of the day, if you want more information about how early voting is run, please come see me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about how Midland County handles the election. I've been doing it for 35 years, and I think I do a good job. So if not, then there are other people out there that can run, right?
Thanks,
We live in
Ann.
a democracy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
John?
John Kiefer, in light of recent events, I'd like to not give my address. So, am I afforded the same 8 minutes that Ms. Benides was afforded?
We didn't take a vote on that, so.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll move quickly. So a couple things. First off, we're here for the appeal of the money. So as Ann said, the estimate is just simply that. If it ends up being less time, then obviously money would be refunded. But without knowing what's there, 10,000 ballots is certainly a lot to sort through. But there's a lot of other things laced inside of this. First off, the tally sheets, and I believe 168720J was referenced, talks about the two methods that you can tally write-in votes. We do, in fact, utilize the tally sheets. Those tally sheets do have Ms. Benitez' name on them and how many votes per precinct she got. Those are included in the poll book. I believe she also stated that they should be brought to the canvas to be tabulated. That is against the law. That's not the law anywhere. No Board of Canvassers actually tabulates the write-in votes at the canvas. And then the ballots separated by precinct. I think we need to draw some understanding that the results are to be separated by precinct, which they are. If you look, all results are separated by precinct. The write-in votes are not. They are done at the tally here. But I want you to understand that if you voted for Donald Trump at the canvas, that was added to the correct precinct. Those votes are awarded to the correct people in the reports and stuff. She also references a website that is not the official canvas is in the books in the vault, and there are some notes on who got what write-in votes there. I think that's it. I really wasn't prepared to speak on this. I didn't know that there would be such a big presentation about it, but those are the high points. The last thing, many people, it was talked about Saginaw and Bay City. I started going through and looking at people's reports. I just went down through the alphabet. I didn't even make it through the C's. Allegan does it just like us. Aranac does it just like us. Baraga does it just like us. Cass does it just like us. Sheboygan does it just like us. Charlevoix does it just like us. So, I mean, I'm not even out of the C's, and I have more to support that more people do it just like us, the exact same way. I think I've exceeded my time. Thank you. That's all I have for today.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Do we have any commissioner discussion?
Yes, if you want to pass. So I thought I needed to take a look at this personally to see about this. Renita is in my district, but there's also there in her information, she mentioned a couple other school board people, so I thought, okay, I should check on that. And so in your, so you're going to see that. First, I found, and these other candidates are actually in Gratiot County, so I took a look at Gratiot County to see what they have. And I happened to find a letter from the Michigan Bureau of Elections, and if you turn on to page 2, it talks about actions that county clerks are supposed to take, all valid write-in votes cast for the above listed candidates. And this letter from the Bureau of Elections was from the state candidates. And I just assume by extension it go to the local ones. It said, please advise the appropriate city and township clerks to instruct their precinct boards to record any valid write-in votes cast for the indicated candidates. And any other districts listed above that falls within your county. So it looked like that should be done. Happened in through also to see the list of valid
We do
votes.
that.
Okay, and so we had the write-ins. You'll see a tab. This is for the Gratiot County. You'll see have a list of just the local write-ins, so you could see all the approved write-in candidates. If you go to the Midland site, you would not find that information actually, or I couldn't find it at least. So then the next sheet, you'll see the results for the St. Louis. They were at St. Louis Public School Board members. Why am I interested in that? In Jasper Township, we have some people who have their kids go to there. So I want to make sure they get a chance to have their votes counted. And they were 2 candidates that got votes. They got 3 for each, and it's in that packet information that Renita had passed on. And then your 4th sheet is showing that Gratiot County showed by, these are write-in votes, and showed the write-in for the St. Louis Public School Board members. And you'll see there's the names for Stephen James, Edward George. On the next page is Carla Tay Trevino. They got votes in Midland County, though they each got 3. Tally that Renita had. So it didn't change the results, but it's disappointing to me that these write-in candidates got a precinct by precinct results for them, but we don't, the write-in candidates in Midland County don't do it. Now, I just picked Gratiot County out of, because they were the school board members and affected our ones, and I wanted to see what was, validate, is this other counties, do they do that? Well, I maybe not, I don't know about across the state, but, I don't know if the two that got votes, if they'd have to put in a FOIA request to get their results, like Renita has to do, or they say, hey, there you can see the results they have by precinct of what they got, and they were write-ins. So I believe we should support Renita Bonnie's request for results by precinct at no charge. Somewhere about other candidates would have had, say, in this case, the school board. Thank you.
Yes,
The
please.
appeal is of the amount of money requested for the service to be provided. That is the scope of the board's decision today.
So the new business item number 2, and you read that?
New business item number 1
Thank you.
is the, for the board to consider the attached appeal of a FOIA response by Ms. Benites. So you're just dealing with the appeal. This other stuff is just a lot of information for all of you, I think, not directly related to the appeal. She's appealing because of the cost.
Okay.
So this is asking you by Chairman Stamas, asking you to consider the attached appeal. And I've already indicated that I'm going to amend the amount and resubmit it to Ms. Benites, but that's what this is for, not any of this other stuff.
Okay.
It's simply
Yeah, my point
for
was
the
just to
appeal.
show there's they didn't have to do it, say, for my ones who are affected people in Jasper Township.
Larry, I have that. It's in the full canvas. You just need to ask me for it. It's available. So it's there.
So to move this forward, the idea continues to be that we cannot treat certain people one way and other people another way. This is the foundation of the law and rules. There are rules for the FOIA request. There are rules for how much the FOIA request costs. It appears to me that the extra information is ancillary. The issue at hand is very, very narrow. Does Ms. Bonides have to pay the $611? Is that a reasonable amount? Who gets to determine if that's a reasonable amount? Well, we do. We get to determine if that's a reasonable amount. If Ann Maneri, the clerk, has already indicated that she will look at a reduced amount, I would move that we can have Ms. Maneri provide that reduced amount based on her chief deputy's rate as opposed to her rate, and that the appeal for not paying any fees be denied.
Okay, thank
There
you.
may still be comment, but I have made a motion.
Okay.
Support.
So there's
Hang on just one second, because I'm going to have to get the motion down because I don't have it in writing.
okay.
Give it to me one more time.
Well, I would move to deny the appeal of which her appeal was she didn't want to pay any fees. So I think it's a denial of, my motion would be to deny not paying any fees, but to, of course, allow the clerk's office to present a reduced fee schedule based on the clerk's office being flexible and changing the amount for Mr. Kiefer to do the work as opposed to Ms. Maneri doing the work.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to understand this, Bill, and I know I'm watching just how you're maneuvering through this. So I just want to make sure what we're doing. So we have an item of new business that we're discussing, And then in the middle of new business, there's been a motion made. So how do we press forward with this? Can you give some guidance, please?
Well, the request, the appeal was requesting, the requester appealed the charges for the FOIA request. The motion is made by Commissioner Gambrell to deny the request, but to allow, how do I say this, to allow the clerk to recalculate. That was my recommendation, to grant the appeal in part to the point of allowing the clerk to recalculate the fees based upon her chief deputy rates rather than her rates. I think it's a different side of the same coin. However you want to do it is fine. Commissioner Gambrell's motion to me states that the denial of the request is incumbent along with the recalculation of the fees by the clerk. So
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly how you want to look at it, but it has the same result.
Yes, because when I read your motion, or your recommendation to the appeal, it was pretty clear what we were doing for new business. It's pretty extensive. I'm requesting this body consider the attached appeal of FOIA response by Ms. Renita Bonadies. And then there's information around it, which sounds similar to what Todd is saying.
Yeah, I think it seems to me Todd's motion is to deny the appeal, and then if that denial is approved, then the issue's over. If it's declined, that we don't approve the denial, or we decline the denial, then I'll make a motion that we make that we accept her appeal and that we give her the information at no charge. So it's a question about charges. Pardon?
That's not what she's appealed.
Not the charges.
Give her the information at no charge. She's asked for a recalculation. She's appealing the charges. She's not asking for no charge, I don't believe.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and it has been supported and we have had discussion. Are we clear as to what we're voting on? Commissioner Smith?
Can I ask Ann a clarifying question first?
Yes. Yep, this is
Okay.
our time to discuss.
So when you are doing the recalculation that you're going to do going forward, potentially, it would be recalculating it based on Mr. Kiefer's salary, not your salary.
That is-
And so at the same time, it would be presumably a lesser amount, but at the same time, it would also not be anybody volunteering their time for free.
That's correct.
Okay,
This is,
because not to reduce it to monetarily terms, but you both work for the county. So even if you were to give your time of free, it's a cost to the taxpayers of the county.
Right. And
Okay.
it's, you have to look at the information that's being requested and who has the ability to decipher the information. I can't just have you come in and volunteer and expect that you're going to know what a valid write-in is because of the training and experience that John and I have, which is why it's going to be both of us, but we're going to use John's rate of pay. There has to be at least 2 people when you break security, but I'm not charging for the second person, only just for John's wage. That's what the new calculation will be.
Okay, and has there ever been a time in Midland County with elections or with FOIA requests that we've said, this is a very valuable thing, we need to have this, we're going to give this free of charge?
Well, I mean, that's
Or do
kind
the
of,
work for free of charge?
that's kind of a hard question to answer. I mean, we do try to work with people, but at the same time, this is taxpayers' money that we're going to be spending, doing the work. And so because it could be an 8-hour day, I don't know. If it's something that I can do in 10 or 15 minutes, typically we just give people the information if we can. But we have to make sure that we're not just giving away, because once you get a request like this, then there's going to be lots of people who
That's what
want
I was trying to figure out,
information.
if there was a
So
precedent for
the
doing
problem
it
is
before
that you
if
have
this
to
was
make sure that,
established.
right, because I mean, we could be literally spending, I could hire another employee. The county could pay for another employee just to address FOIA requests in the office and to make copies of things. So, I mean, it can get that far out of hand. So.
Thank you.
So I appreciate everybody's patience. I know the meeting's gone a little longer. When I go to the packet of what we've been given, there is Renita's request. It says, "I'm officially appealing the charges of this FOIA request."
Yeah, I saw that too.
So I don't know that she's saying, "I'm officially appealing the charges of this FOIA request." So that's the first sentence. I just want, that's up to your determination. So are there any more, that's my discussion on it. Is there any more discussion? And could you read the motion so we know clearly what we're voting on?
So the motion is by Commissioner Gambrell, supported by Commissioner Dorian. Commissioner Gambrell is making a motion to deny the request to pay any fees, but to allow the clerk to present a reduced fee schedule to Ms. Benides.
By the way, should we clarify, how do you pronounce your name?
Okay.
Bonides.
Ms. Bonides.
So it's really,
Okay.
well, it might be granting the appeal because we're going to allow a reduced fee, but I don't want to set a, hey, let's make an appeal and we're going to grant them. So I guess, the idea, however Bill Smith thinks we should present the motion, I know it's already been supported, is just the idea that Ann Menares, county clerk, is going to present a lesser fee, and that this appeal of these fees has run its course. That's why I couched it in terms of denying the appeal. This appeal has run its course, and Ms. Bonides will be presented with a reduced rate schedule that she can choose to pay or not.
Comment just briefly, Commissioner Gambrell. My recommendation is to grant the appeal in part and to allow the clerk to recalculate the appeal. There is no guarantee it's going to be less. It's just a recalculation.
Okay. So I will amend my motion at the request or at the suggestion of County Attorney Bill Smith to grant the appeal in part and provide a recalculated fee schedule based on John Kiefer's rate and not Ann Menares' rate.
Right, I appreciate the discussion. We do have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Gambrell. I'm a little confused because we had one in new business as well that I thought was capturing the same thing. So we're probably going to have two votes then, one on Commissioner Gambrell's and one on Bill's, or just the motion on the floor?
No, I amended mine. I amended my
Larry's.
motion.
Just one?
Yep. So it's the same motion. It was amended to what I last said.
I might offer up an amendment to the motion before we vote on that. I think that is.
So it's my motion. I amended
Yes.
it.
Yes, and then I make an amendment to that motion. I have motion that we amend that motion to strike the words recalculate and put instead to complete the FOIA request at no charge.
Is,
Okay.
I'm sorry, is that allowed?
You can vote on the requested amendment. You build them,
Okay, hang on just a second.
My think I said it right, I'm not quite sure. I was trying to strike out the part that the renegotiation, just strike it and say that there be no fee. Ultimately, that.
So, I think-
accept it.
You need to vote on the amendment of Todd's amended motion that's already been supported.
Correct.
Okay, hang
Including
on.
Larry's amendment?
What-
On the amendment.
No, just voting if.
If you agree to Commissioner Schuelke's amendment or offer of amendment, that's what you're voting on right
Yeah,
now.
not the whole thing, just Larry's amendment.
Right. Okay, so Commissioner Schuelke is making an amended motion to add the request for no fee. So that's what we're voting on first.
Correct.
Okay, hang on.
Is there a support?
Is there support? That's the first thing.
I'm just looking at faces. Is it clear? So we'd need a support, and then we can have discussion. So do we have a support for the Commissioner Schuelke's amendment?
I maintain support.
Okay, now we can have discussion. Is everybody clear about what we're voting on? The amendment to the amended motion. All right, we'll do a roll call vote, and we will have Ann read what we're voting on just one last time, so we're clear.
So this is the amended motion by Commissioner Schuelke, supported by Commissioner Dorian, to add the request for no fee.
Okay, so we're voting either a yes or no to add no fee.
Correct. And we're going to start with Commissioner Schuelke.
Yes.
Okay? Gambrell.
No.
Dorian.
Yes.
Smith.
No.
And Commissioner Snyder.
Yes.
Okay. So now we're going to vote on Commissioner Gambrell's motion, supported by Commissioner Dorian, that we're going to. As amended by Larry. As amended by Larry. So there's no reason to even vote on that, because there's no reason to even do that, because I'm not going to recalculate it if you're going to give it to her for free.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it just was.
It's an item of,
Okay, all right. So, motion by Commissioner Gambrell, supported by Commissioner Dorian, to grant the appeal in part and for the clerk to provide a recalculation for John Kiefer's pay scale. And then Commissioner Schuelke's amended motion to make it so that there's no fee. That's the motion. So, we're going to go to roll call. Commissioner Smith.
Now this is voting on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Commissioner Schuelke.
Yes.
Commissioner Gambrell.
No.
Commissioner Dorian.
Yes.
And Chairman Snyder.
yes.
All right, motion carries. There you
As a point
go.
of clarification, as you put that in the minutes, I would appreciate it if it said motion by Gambrell as amended by Schuelke. Right, as public knowledge, as that gets put in the record, it needs to be clear. I'm sure you'll do it well, but it needs to be clear that it was amended.
Okay,
All right. So